I have realized over the past couple years, I have accumulated a lot of books and I haven't read a lot of them. So in this video, I want to tackle my physical TBR and I want to force myself to read some of these books before this video is over. I have actually put together a TBR jar right here where I have written down the title of every book in my physical collection that I have not read yet. And so what we're going to do in this video, I feel like this could be kind of like a series I do on here. I've seen a couple videos like this on YouTube and I love watching them. It's just so satisfying seeing people finish some of the books in their collection, which obviously you have books to read them and not just to look at. And I've found myself getting into kind of a rut of just buying books that sound interesting and then not being in the mood to read them. So that's gonna change today. I'm pretty nervous because there's some titles in here that I bought a really long time ago, probably at like the beginning of like book talk and stuff, where they probably would have been my taste at the time, but I don't think they are anymore. And I'm not gonna force myself to finish a book if I'm not enjoying it. This is kind of more of like a read it or I unhaul it from my collection. So without further ado, let's pick our first book. The different colors mean nothing. These are just my two favorite colors. So let's pick the first book. Oh, that was two. I'll put that one back. What does this say? Oh, it's upside down. Mortal Follies. Okay, wait, I think this is a romance book. Pretty sure I know where it is on my bookshelves. I'm gonna go find it and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I found it right here. This cover is so cute. I kind of forget what this book is about. I think I saw something about it on TikTok maybe like a year ago and then I bought it and I never got around to reading it. Let me read the back and I'll try to figure out if I can get enough information to give a summary about it. Okay, so from reading the back, it looks like there's a young noblewoman who I believe is our main character, and she is unfortunately cursed. And I guess in order to stop the curse or get the curse taken away, she has to team up with a young witch in the society to help her get rid of the curse. And it looks like the witch may have like a bad reputation, I think. In the society, it's all about, you know, maintaining your reputation. So I don't really know exactly what's going on, but it sounds really fun. I really thought this book was something different. I really thought it was about like different gods and goddesses. I didn't think it was like with like witches and like high society. So that's my bad, but it still sounds interesting. But it's been a while since I've heard the synopsis about this, so I guess I was completely off with my assumption of it. But this is going to be the first book that we read in this series, and I'm very excited to start it. Guys, I'm back and I wanted to give a quick update on Mortal Follies. I am 100 pages into the book and I was right. This book does deal with like gods and goddesses, but more like mythical beings. It's really fun. Our narrator is actually a spirit where they can be in the form of different inanimate objects, and the narrator is so funny. This book is so funny. I'm really enjoying it. As far as the romance goes, I feel like we haven't delved into that as much, but I do like what I've seen from the romance. I think it's very sweet. I was just at a coffee shop reading for maybe like an hour, so I'm back home right now and I actually really want to continue reading this right now. I have some free time tonight. I also was able to get it on my Kindle through my Libby app, and so I also have been reading it on there. So I might switch over to my Kindle. I'm not sure. I've been really into reading on my Kindle recently. So we'll see if I do that. Hi Hey guys, I'm back and I have finished Mortal Follies by Alexis Hall. I just finished it like maybe 10 minutes ago, and I've kind of tried to collect my thoughts about the book. I actually ended up listening to the last half of this book via audiobook. For the most part, I kind of switched back and forth between reading the book and then listening to the audiobook version. And the audiobook version, I have to say, is actually very good. So if you're debating between reading it physically and doing the audiobook, I feel like it read well both ways. It just kind of depended on the mood I was in. So that's kind of why I made that decision. I honestly had a really fun time with this book. It's so funny. Like the narrator, I think I talked about her before. I loved the narrator so much. She was hilarious. It kind of felt like if Glinda from Wicked was the narrator of this book. Like she kind of had the same humor, and I really enjoyed it. This book as a whole, it is a romance book, but it's definitely more of like a romantasy, and it's definitely very like plot heavy as well. Like you're trying to figure out why the main girl, why she was cursed and from whom. And in the end, there's a lot more problems that arise and have to figure out a solution. I was actually very surprised because it felt like the book was wrapping up and we still had like maybe like 50 more pages left, and kind of like a new problem started in those last 50 pages. Which brings me to one point that I have with this book is I just think it was a little too long. Like I really enjoyed my time throughout, but I think I might have enjoyed it more if it was maybe like 320 pages. It was around 400 pages, which is kind of a lot for a romance book in general. And for this book, I feel like I don't know if it was necessary for it to be 400 pages. I still don't really know what I'm thinking about as like a rating goes. I feel like I might update at the end of this video about what I'm feeling with the ratings for all the books, because I just want to give myself time to really think about this book and figure out my rating, because I feel like so often I just finish a book and like I had such a fun time with it and I'm like, oh, 5 stars. Then I end up looking back at that book in like a couple weeks and being like, hey, I don't remember a lot about that book. That definitely wasn't a 5-star. So I want to try to prevent that from happening this year, and I want to take some time to develop my ratings. But yes, so this is the first book that I've finished in this video for reading books off my physical TBR, which is very exciting. So it's time to pick a new book. Okay, I have the jar right here. Let's shake it up. This one's kind of small. Okay. Temptation of Magic. I don't remember what this book is. I think it might be a fairy loot book. I'm gonna go check. I think it's a fairy loot book, so give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back, and yes, it is a fairy loot book. I don't really know what this book is about at all. On the cover, it says, sworn to be enemies, destined to be each other's undoing. Sounds intriguing. Let me read the synopsis a little, and maybe I'll get a better idea of what this book is about. Okay, I have a general idea about what this book is about. It seems like it's like a dark academia book. So it looks like the main character, Nicole, has the ability to kill deadly supernaturals, which her mom also had, but the ability hasn't awoken in her yet. I don't know exactly how to phrase that. And if it does, then this like ministry is gonna force her to work for them. Apparently her mom refused and they killed her mom because of it. So she's hiding in a small university town, convinced the mythological art collection at a local manor contains a final message from her mother. But before she can study it, Kyan McCarter, the Wake's most skilled Imperial, arrives on his own hunt. When Nicole and Kyan discover that Kyan's prey has stolen a painting for leverage, they're forced to work together. As the creature threatens to expose Nicole's powers, her tenuous alliance with Kyan threatens her heart. If her true identity is revealed, Kyan will hunt her next. No one disobeys the Wake and survives, especially when the art they're seeking unveils a conspiracy that would change the lives of creatures and humans forever. Okay, that sounds really intriguing, I can't lie. And I know I always talk about my Fairy Loot editions, but this one is so beautiful. It's giving dark academia. I'm very intrigued. I'm excited. Megan Scott. I've never heard of the author. But yeah, I'm gonna start reading this today, and I'll get back to you when I have an update. Hi guys, I have an update. I haven't really filmed a lot of me reading this book, I feel like, The Temptation of Magic, but I'm actually almost halfway through, I think. I'm on page 180. I'm on chapter 26. I think there's about like 300 and I don't want to get any spoilers, but I think there are about 370 pages in this book. I'm trying to think of how I'm feeling about this book. I was really excited at the beginning because honestly the premise sounded perfect for me right now. The main premise of this book deals a lot with art and like art history, and the school that they go to is very interesting. Students are able to have kind of like a dissertation based off some of their favorite subjects. So I think there's like Gothic history, there's art history, there's musical theory, stuff like that, which is very intriguing, and I really like the setup for the school. And when I found out the main guy in this was Irish, I almost passed away. If you don't know this about me, I love an Irish accent, and so the whole time that the main guy in this book talks, I'm just trying to picture him speaking an Irish accent. That's beautiful. Love that. This is kind of giving me a little bit of like bad flashbacks to The Dagger and the Flame, which I read not that long ago, which was also a fairy loot book actually, and I really did not like that book, and I actually DNF'd it with only like 60 pages left. But I feel like while the plot for this book is kind of similar in a way, I feel like this one is better executed, and I'm definitely enjoying it a lot more than Dagger and the Flame. I think my problem with books like this is I don't know if I'm the right demographic for these types of books. I just love a slow burn, and I feel like in these types of like romantasy books, that's not really what happens. It is kind of a slow burn, but I'm halfway through and I don't want to spoil. I don't know, it's not a slow burn, I have to say. But no, I'm having a great time with it. Is it like the best book I've ever read? No. But are the vibes immaculate and am I really enjoying it? Yes. Overall, not sure how I feel. Trying to keep an open mind. I am enjoying it, but like, am I gonna enjoy the ending? I'm not sure. I looked up and I think this is gonna be a trilogy. It's like everything that's happening right now would be fine if this was a standalone, but the fact that it's gonna be a trilogy, I'm pretty sure, I'm just like, why couldn't we wait for some of this stuff to happen so that like the payoff is better? And then I don't know. Those are just my thoughts right now, and I'm gonna read a little bit of this. I have to go to school for a bit to meet with a professor, but right now I have like 40 minutes to kill. So I think I'm gonna read a little bit more of this. Alright, hello, I'm back, and I have just finished The Temptation of Magic. Don't mind my background. I'm washing my sheets, and I need to put away some towels, but I wanted to talk at my desk. So that is why the background is the way it is. But yes, I have finished The Temptation of Magic. I just finished it like 5 minutes ago, and I don't know, I'm just very disappointed by this book, I guess. It just had so much potential. Like, I was so excited to read it because the premise sounded really interesting to me, and the magic system sounded super interesting, about how the characters in here have all these like special powers and are able to see things that other humans can't in like all these famous paintings and stuff. And I thought that was really cool, but I just feel like it wasn't executed in the way I wanted it to be. So that's why I kind of have some like complicated feelings with this book, because on one hand I feel like so many people would be obsessed with this book and love the magic system, love the romance, love everything about it. But for me, I just didn't care enough about what was happening in the book or about the characters in general, I guess. It's just really tricky for me with the whole romantasy category. It's like on one end, I just felt like the magic system was too good for this to be a romantasy type book. if that makes sense. I wish that maybe the magic system was a little less complex for this type of genre. I don't even know exactly how to formulate this. I can only really think of a few books in the romantasy category that I've liked. Like, I really liked The Heartless Hunter, that book. I think that was a very well executed romantasy. It's like there should have been more plot for what is actually going on in the book, and instead it would be like how the two characters are like so attracted to each other and stuff. And I mentioned this previously, I just wish it was more of a slow burn. The magic system that this author came up with had the potential to be kind of like Ninth House vibes. Like, that's the vibe I was getting at the beginning, and I really love those books. This one felt like at the beginning it was going along that track, but I think the romance just took over, where I just got a little lost with what the plot actually was. Right now, I don't know my rating for this book. Like, for a while, I was really enjoying it and I was just having a great time. I really liked the setting that this took place in, and like I've said a billion times, I really like the magic system in this. I just got kind of lost and like honestly bored. I was reading the last like 50 pages like so fast because I was just like, okay, what's actually going on now? Yeah, that was my kind of long rant about this book, and I still don't really know how I feel, I guess. I feel like I'll probably collect my thoughts a little more by the time I do my January wrap-up video. So if you're wanting some more coherent thoughts about this book, they'll probably be in that. I can't guarantee that because a lot of the times I don't have coherent thoughts. So we'll see if by that time I end up having some. But we have finished our second book for this challenge, and so it's time to draw a new book to read. I'm probably not going to get to reading this today. Whatever book I draw, I have class in a little bit that I need to get ready for. I think I'm doing stuff with friends after that, so I probably won't get to this book today. But let's just figure out what it is. I'm hoping that a book that I get is one that I can easily get the audiobook for, or like would translate well via audio, because I'm kind of in the mood to listen to an audiobook, but we will see. There's like two. What does that say? Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so scared. Can you see that? I'm gonna do the classic. Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. Oh gosh. This is gonna be a little tricky. I am not usually a classics girl, but I do want to be more of one. I do have the physical copy of this, but I listened to actually the audiobook. Wait, this is actually kind of good, I think. I listened to the audiobook version of Pride and Prejudice like a couple months ago, and I actually really enjoyed it. So maybe I'll like the audiobook version of Sense and Sensibility. Okay. Welcome back, guys. We're about 45% of the way through Sense and Sensibility. We are on page 174. I do have a physical copy of this book, but I actually haven't been physically reading this book. I started off reading it physically, like on my Kindle. I really like the audiobook a lot more, and I think I mentioned before that's what I did with Pride and Prejudice, and it was a lot easier for me to understand it that way. Just like with the narrator, all the different voices and the pronunciation of some words, I probably would be actually butchering it in my head if I tried to go about doing that. I kind of went into this book thinking I wasn't gonna like it because this is her first novel, Jane Austen's first novel, and I feel like the consensus that I've heard from people is that this is one of their least favorites from her. So I really didn't have high expectations, and that to say I am only 45% of the way through, but I am actually enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. Also, before getting into the book, I had pretty much no idea what this book was about. I think that Emma Thompson is in the adaptation, and that's pretty much all I knew about this book. So in this book we follow two sisters, Marianne and Eleanor. I believe Eleanor is supposed to be sense and Marianne is supposed to be sensibility. They both have very like contrasting personalities. Like Eleanor is very much like more calm and reserved, and Marianne is very much just like lets her emotions kind of control her, ultimately a little bit to her detriment. And so that's kind of a fun dynamic with the two sisters, how different they are. But it starts off in this book, their father has died, and so they're struggling with figuring out their inheritance. A lot, like I think their money goes to their half brother or something like that, so they're kind of in a pressure situation to like find husbands, and things aren't really going the way they want to. Like they're both falling in love with these two different men. One sister is kind of being betrayed by one man, another finds out that he's already kind of engaged to someone else. So I wasn't really expecting this book to be that much like drama. I mean, the only other Jane Austen book I've read is Pride and Prejudice, and there is a lot of drama in that book, so I don't even know why I was going into this book thinking that. I feel like I'm at the point where I'm halfway through this book. I don't really know what more is going to happen, but I'm sure a lot more is gonna happen, but I'm intrigued to keep listening. My plan for today, it's like 3:30 right now, and I haven't read any of this today, but I was thinking in a little bit I'm going to pop in the audiobook again and get on my little walking pad thing to get my steps in for the day. Other than that, those are my thoughts at the moment, and I'll update you once I finish the book, which might be today, but might be tomorrow. Alright guys, I've finished Sense and Sensibility. I finished this yesterday, like afternoon actually, so I've kind of been collecting my thoughts a bit about the book. Overall, what I'll say, I enjoyed the book a lot more than I thought I would. I really thought I was going to be pretty bored throughout my time reading this book, but I surprisingly wasn't. Sometimes I just struggle with classics, especially like classics like this, for no particular reason. It's just sometimes like the different way of speaking I just get kind of confused by. That's what I really like for the past two Jane Austen books I've read, listening to the audiobook. It's more of a like experience, and I'm able to follow along with like the plot easier. I did enjoy my time reading this, and I was definitely surprised with how much I enjoyed reading it, just because I haven't heard a lot of good things about this. I think I mentioned that before, but I also like the ending was a little weird to me. It just felt like towards the very end all these things were like wrapping up, and I'm like, whoa. In terms of like the relationships at the end, I'm like, whoa, how did that even happen? Yeah, it just felt like we got halfway through the book and felt like everything was kind of almost resolved, but then towards the very end things switched and then there was like a new ending. I don't know, I just thought the ending was a little strange and felt a little rushed and forced. I think what I've realized now is that I think I'm no longer going to rate, like do like a star rating for classics. It just feels kind of weird to me to do it now, I guess, because I don't know, there's just like so much that goes into a book being a classic, not even including the fact of like whether you enjoyed the book or not. So it just feels weird to me to give a rating, so I think I'm not going to do that anymore. I think I'm just going to mention whether I liked it or not, what I did enjoy about it, what I didn't. One thing I really enjoyed about this book, I did love the two sisters. I thought that dynamic was really fun, but overall not my favorite. I think I still like Pride and Prejudice more than Sense and Sensibility, but it has made me want to watch an adaptation of it because I've never watched an adaptation of Sense and Sensibility, so I think I want to go ahead and do that. But alright guys, we have come to the end of this video. This was very successful in my opinion. Like overall, did I love any of these books? Not necessarily, but they've been on my TBR for a while now, except this book. This one's kind of more recent. It's just great finishing books that are on your TBR. Overall, I had a great time. Like, who knows if I didn't do this video when I would have picked up any of these books. I'm gonna definitely continue this, and I want it to be a series on my channel when I'm in the mood or just wanting to get some books read. I'm still not sure on the star ratings for these two books, but I am going to be coming out with a monthly wrap-up video, so that should be out, and if you want to hear my complete thoughts on these books, then be on the lookout for that. But anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it, and I'm just glad that I didn't, like, I feel like with these types of videos I constantly am like, I start filming them and then halfway through I get into like a slump or something and then I never finish the video. So I'm very glad I finished it in a timely manner as well. But if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it so much if you wanted to subscribe. That would be amazing. But I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.